Welcome back, my model building friends. It's Brian with BG Model Workshop, and we're working on our AMT 1957 Chevy for the group build hosted by Little C. Back to the 50s. We're coming up on that deadline. I think that's October 31st. We still got a little bit of time, but I myself have challenged myself to actually try and get this done before September 1st, because we got other group builds coming up. Chief amongst them, we want to get going on our Frankenstein build hosted by Mr. Rick Z and Mr. Gary G. We have it all figured out. We just need to actually start doing some cutting and gluing and polishing and sanding and painting, and so we're almost done there. But yeah, we want to get that stuff rolling, and we want to get this one off the table because it's getting pretty close to hammer time. So there's a lot of frustrations and everything with this kit. Chief among them was the fit of the headlight bezels for the front and the front bumper. So we see some gray primer on there, and that's actually Tamiya surface primer. G, and there's some thick stuff, so it helps to fill in some of the kerf marks and sanding scratches and such for around the area. But we've had to use some sprue glue, and we had to use some styrene strip to help reshape the front end of the car, as well as widen out the cheeks a little bit, because this dude wasn't fitting on there very well, and we had to do some surgery on this as well, because the mount, God, what do they call those? The sprue gates where this was mounted to the sprue were just horrible. So we had to do a little bit of filling on that too, as well as the back bumper. And you see that there's some bald spots here. We had to we had to file down the top of this space here so that it would fit underneath the taillight area better, and had to file down the leading edge of the bumper as it mounts to the body, because this was almost football shaped, and the back end here where it's supposed to mount up wasn't. So we got that to fit properly now, and then we're just really horrified by the fact that we can't focus on this. There we go. By this parting line, this mold line. God, why can't we not? This thing is like a tumbleweed in a dust storm. It just cannot focus. All right, there we go. So that mold seam line there on both sides, as well as one on the front bumper, are really bad. So we're probably going to end up stripping that stuff and then repainting everything. But we're not going to get shiny chrome. We're probably going to get like aluminum type of thing going on. Our interior, however, has turned out quite well. We flocked the floor with some of this turquoise flocking, and I would like the fact that it's got the multicolor stuff going on in there. That's really slick, and it translated well to the floor. And then our seat inserts, we did. It's a Tamiya color, and it's a very difficult name to remember. Metallic blue X13. So we thought that looked really cool like that. So we did. Got some dust on my seats. But did the metallic blue on the seat inserts. Then we did some chrome pen on the seat buttons and seat belt buckles, and we're pretty sure that 57 Chevys weren't sold with seat belts, and those are probably either a dealership add-on or aftermarket add-on. So we're going to just say that old Joe here that bought this 57 Chevy brand new decided a little bit later on that he needed to go to J.C. Whitney and get himself some seat belts. And then old Joe installed them wrong. So let me know if you can figure out what's wrong with these seat belts. All right, so our dashboard looks pretty cool. We did some gold gel pen for the script on the Belair there, and then we also did some decals from Best Model Car Art. Those guys do some pretty sweet pretty sweet looking stuff. We did the clock from the passenger side over. We did the clock, we did the radio, and then we did the different gauges also. And what we did was we actually drilled out the gauge faces a little bit because they had really high raised lettering on there. It was indistinct lettering, but it was very high and raised. So we actually drilled that out a little bit so we could get a flatter surface and stuck our gauges on there. And the only thing I would do differently was if I was going to drill this out again, I'd do a little bit larger size so I could recess the gauge decals in there a little bit better, so they're not just sitting right there on the front of the bezels. So that's probably the only thing I do differently there. And then we got ourselves a straight pin. Well, it's not really straight anymore. A straight pin shifter with a nice dark blue bead on the top. Thought that was going to look pretty cool. And a little bit of chrome piping around all the different panel details and such on the inside there. So we're really happy with how that turned out. That was a couple of hours of having to wear the magnifying glasses work there. But back to the body, we finally got all the tricky bits that were tripping us up sorted out. And we got our magnets installed. And the hood stain on there actually pretty good. So this isn't held on there by anything by those little magnets right there. So we're happy with that deal. And oh yeah, we've been doing some more fitting on this one last piece here, trying to make sure that it's going to fit to the inside curve. We had to add some sprue glue in there the other day in order to get that to fit just right, and we had to do it on the other side as well. See the gray? There we go. So yeah, that's what we got going on there, and the chassis is doing all right, except for the wheels. The wheels are a little clunky. I now realize why they were in the spares box. They're not drilled straight through. They're wobbly. So at any given time, one wheel could be off the ground or letting the car sink to one side or something like that. So it's giving us the opportunity to play with our new toy that we got from Micromark, the online store. I believe Charlie Mack was talking about these guys the other day, but had a pretty good sale on the squaring and gluing jig, and I believe that's actually what it's called. Let's see here. Yeah, magnetic gluing jig. So that was just a little note about the magnets. And I'm on this side of the desk. My computer's over there on that side of the desk, so I should be okay with the magnets over here. But the magnets have they have a piece of steel glued to one side, and the other side has another piece of steel that floats. So you know, for whatever application you're going to have to use that for. But using this guy here will help us get our wheels and tires lined up. So when we finally do our glue up on that, we'll be sitting pretty, quite literally actually. And our underside's looking really good. We got all of our detail stuff going in there, and so now we have the engine mounted. We need to go back and do a little bit more weathering on the transmission and the engine, but I was going to hold that off until I actually had it in the chassis so I could match the weathering detail that I have on that. So that's what we got going on there. Thanks everybody who's been watching and subscribing. I appreciate that. I apologize about not posting much content. That would be my cousin texting me. But we've been really busy with working on this monstrosity over here, which is nearly ready for its maiden voyage. We've been doing some test painting here and there, had some problems, and I'll get into that in more detail a little bit later on. But as far as we know for right now, it's working pretty good, and we're looking forward to giving it a proper test. All right, everybody, have a great week. We'll talk to you a little bit later on, and keep at it. Bye now.